All right, so let's get started. We're going to start with PowerPoint slides. We're going to go through a handful of those, and then we're going to go right to the tool. We're going to go right to the app, right from the get-go where you log in, and we'll go around the horn and do some stuff, and then and go from there, because that's the best way to learn it. If you have SARTopo or your own account, feel free to log in. Split screen or whatever is great. There will be a couple times, I don't know about tonight, but definitely next week, where I'm sharing a map with you. We can be on the same map, which is definitely an interesting thing to try. It'll be something that during the MLPI class, there's a really good chance you'll end up doing, is multiple people working the same map or a copy of the map. Especially when you're managing the current operation while planning for tomorrow. That's a pretty key thing. So let me get my presentation going here. Let me get a screen share going on the right screen for you, and we'll zip along. I don't expect tonight to take super long. You know, if we hit 2 hours, I'll be surprised. All right. So here is the PowerPoint show, and off we go. If you've got any questions, type them into the chat. That's a great way to capture them, so I can save them for next time. And then feel free to hit the little button where you can raise your hand, or even if you just want to shout out something, that's perfectly fine. Small group, piece of cake, nothing really to worry about. Okay. So, like I said, introduction to SAR GIS using SARTopo, with GIS standing for Geographic Information Systems. Ta-da! So this is me. Like I said, I'm the director and one of the co-founders of the Porter County Search and Rescue team here in Northwest Indiana. I've been doing search and rescue officially since 2014, when we founded the team. I've been in public safety since '95. I teach several different classes for NASAR. I actually have to update that slide now. I teach the SAR Initial Actions course, the Introduction to SAR course, this SARTopo Wilderness First Aid, and now also the Managing the Lost Person Incident, which is why most of you are here. My day job, I'm the Fire Prevention and Education Technician at Indiana Dunes National Park, which makes me our fire staff resident GIS nerd. I'm the map guy. In fact, as we get ready to bring our staff on here in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing some map training with them. And I was going back and forth with some of my folks about that today. Through the park, I am a public information officer and a medical unit leader on a national type 2 incident management team. We do the big fires out west. We also get called to all hazard stuff just because of the location of our team. We're in the northeastern part of the country. So Minnesota to Missouri to West Virginia to Maine, that's our 20-state area. And FEMA likes to call us to come do things, specifically hurricane stuff, because we're some of the closest teams not in the hurricane areas. And we're available. So cheesy selfie on the right, you know, that's me at work. In reality, it's probably something like this. If there's not a cup of coffee close by, we have a problem. I had to throw this one in there. This was at this past spring. I'm a Boy Scout leader, do a lot with our scouts. And this past spring, my team actually helped me run a search and rescue camporee. And somebody walked by the trailer and had to snap that little photo. So I figured I'd poke fun at myself a little bit. So in the beginning, there was cave drawings. People learned and still learn, I'm one of them, with their eyes, see things, you know. After a while, we kind of went from drawing in the cave to drawing on maps, the side of a trailer, dry erase, a butcher block paper taped to the side of somebody's SUV. Today we use a lot more tech in what we do, and it helps us. The technology, especially something like this, if used properly, can be what we call a force multiplier. So search and rescue, and I'll even change this and say public safety, emergency management is a geospatial problem. There's police departments now that are using the same tactics, techniques, and procedures that military intelligence uses to plot out crimes and things like that. When we take whatever it is we're doing, whether it's a flood, a wildland fire, a missing person search, earthquake, when we put it to a map, that's when we start to have a better understanding of what's going on. SARTopo is a tool, one of several out there, that helps us efficiently, effectively display our information and share it. Whether we're sharing it with the people we're working for, police, sheriff, state police, emergency management, county executive, or whether we're sharing it with the other responders coming to our search, our fire, whatever it is. It is a tool that we use on a daily basis. SAR-GIS helps us document our work. None of us are new to public safety. We all know the axiom, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. SARTopo helps us document what did happen, where it happened, who did it, and when, which is a lot of the documentation that goes into a missing persons case. We've been very fortunate in the going on 6, 7 years we've been around. There's only been a handful of times that law enforcement said, yeah, we want your map. We need this for the case file because something weird or hokey happened. But when they've wanted it, we've had it, and it's in a good database and a good format, and it all came out of this system right here. So what is SARTopo? Well, SARTopo is a derivative of something called CalTopo. Basically started out a guy named Matt and some really smart friends of his said, we don't like the commercially available tools for mapping out our adventures. So we're going to come up with something better. And like many adventurous people in the western part of the United States, they're also search and rescue volunteers. So after a little while, they realized what could be done with the system, and they came up with a derivative of CalTopo called SARTopo. Now, I just read today that this is happening in the next 2 weeks. The two systems are actually going to get merged onto the same server. So some of the information I'm showing you tonight is actually going to change just slightly. And that's the great thing, one of the great things about SARTopo and it being a web-based system. They're always upgrading it. There's always new developments. It's not like you have to get a CD or download a bunch of data and install it on your computer to get the newest version. It's in the cloud. It just works. So what they're doing is, until now, there's been 2 different servers, one running the CalTopo stuff and one running SARTopo. If you've ever gone and entered one of the bookmarks, hand typed it into your map before, you may have pulled up a map and you're like, that's not our search. Well, it was probably on the other server. What they had doing is they kept it all separate. They're upgrading, they're combining the servers. Some of the URLs or the web addresses for maps and things are going to change just a little bit. But for the vast majority of us, we're not going to see any changes to that. So that's a good thing. They're constantly updating the system, and this is just going to be the next step in it. Everybody always asks, what's this cost? Well, it's a great question. One of the awesome things about Matt and his crew at CalTopo is that they are SAR responders, and they realize how much we all spend out of our pockets to get stuff done. An individual person who works in public safety can get an individual pro level account for free. And you can see here, that's normally $50 a year. That actually does a whole heck of a lot for you with that free account. It was just a year and a half ago that my team even bought an account. And I'm going to show you why here in a little while. It has some definite advantages. If you go to the website, and I'll show you here in a little bit, there is a separate form that you fill out to get the public safety person's free discount. It's awesome. There's also discounted pricing for team accounts. Right now, we pay $250 a year for 25 accounts. That's 25 pro level accounts that are all combined. And I can easily share data all the way across those accounts. And I'll show you how that works here in a little while. So what are some advantages to online mapping? Well, I already talked about it a little bit. One of them is that we don't have to download software for upgrades. They upgrade the software on the cloud. We log in, there's the new stuff, all right? Having all this online data and having things saved on the web is awesome. If your computer crashes, your battery dies, as long as you're connected and you've been uploading to the internet, your map is still there. You can go jump into somebody else's vehicle, go plug in, you can get back on the server, you can get your data, which is awesome. You don't have to hit the save button all the time. In fact, there is no save button. As soon as you make a change to your map, it automatically saves on the server, which is phenomenal. It can be kind of weird, especially when you've got multiple people working the same map, which we do all the time. And you're like, hey, where'd that come from? Oh yeah, that's right. Somebody's over in the trailer adding to it or plotting new information, because it just constantly updates. It's really phenomenal. You can also get to your map from any device. All you need is that URL. A simple click. Let's see if it happens. And boom, we've got a map, and it pops up. You can text this to somebody. You can email it. I've actually done that before. I took the URL on my phone because I accessed the map from the app on the phone, which is a new thing. I texted the sheriff's department helicopter pilot the URL to our map. And as he got close and called me and said, okay, I'm overhead, I said, did you get the text and open the map? He goes, yeah, I got it. I'm like, great. Do you see that big yellow box on the map? He goes, yeah. I said, that's what you're going to search. Boom, done. You know, briefing from the ground to a helicopter through the internet in 10 seconds is awesome. Great tool for stuff like that. You can collaborate so easily. And that is one of the things I'm going to show you guys how to do that. You know, if we were just running this off of one computer, it would be very hard to collaborate. Now, there is a way that you can actually install an offline version of SARTopo on a desktop or a laptop and run it like a server. So if you have a command post with a server and multiple computers in there, you can be all online, or online, you could be all on the same map. But when we're actually connected to the internet, we can collaborate from wherever. And there are folks out there that might be on the other end of the country that can help you with your map. And that's a great thing. So if you send a link to your map and you adjust the permissions, which I'll show you how to do, other people can edit your map. They can just look at it. They can maybe add data, but not delete data, which is very important. Or they can just watch, which is a really cool trick, especially when you've got the bosses and you're out in the field in the command post, you know, working the search, but back there in town, the police chief, the sheriff, whoever, they want to know what's going on. You can send them a link to the map, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. So they can see what's going on out there, and you can just brief them over the phone. You're good to go. And they can continue to watch, feel like they're involved, but not be in the way, if you know what I'm saying. Great advantage to the online mapping is all the different data that's out there that you can access that changes on a regular basis. You know, back in the day when we would have to get our Random McNally maps on DVD, and you didn't get a new map until you bought new DVDs. We don't have that problem now. As stuff changes, as Matt and his staff find newer, better maps, or the suppliers for their maps update them, they are instantly available to us. So you don't have to install, you don't have to download, you just got to log in and have a good internet connection. And that is awesome. All right, so I'm going to get out of the PowerPoint, and we're pretty much not going to look at any more PowerPoint for a while. So let me close that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a share. You make sure there's nobody waiting in the waiting room here. Nope, we're still good. So I'm going to screen share my other screen, which is SARTopo. All right, show you that one. There we go. So you guys got that up? It's well, just a window, and it says it's basically the entry screen into SARTopo. We good? You guys aren't falling asleep on me already. It's only been 20 minutes. So somebody tell me that we're good. And you're looking at what I'm looking at.
I see some pretty mountains.
Oh, there we go. Pretty mountains. That's the right one. Running multiple screens and multiple things. I've been known to screen share the wrong thing before. All right. So this is the main screen for SARTopo. So if you have not been on it before, if you've not used it and left some cookies on your desktop or bookmarked it, when you go to the SARTopo page, it's probably what you're going to get. From here, you can get to the pricing. You can look at individual pricing and team pricing. This is where you can here it says right here, SARTopo offers discounted or free accounts. Find out more and apply. And boom, you go through their form, and it asks you to basically confirm that you're actual person who is involved in search and rescue emergency response, and they hook you up, and it's pretty slick. They're pretty quick to get back to you, and off we go. There is a blog that is updated fairly regular. In fact, I believe is the blog where I read. Yep, there it is, merging CalTopo and SARTopo servers. Oh, that was actually posted on the 10th of last month, but here's a new blog post just a few days ago. Great to keep up on what's going on with SARTopo. Also, I highly suggest you follow them on Facebook or Twitter. And you can sign up to get some of the stuff emailed to you as well, so you're informed when they're making changes. There is a fairly robust help. So there's a community forum, there's guides, there's FAQs, and then there's now the training site, which is something I sent you guys all a link to. So on the training site, it's fairly intuitive. It's nothing too crazy. They are starting to put some of the mobile stuff up there because there is an app available for both Android and iOS devices. If you've got a question, the answer is probably in here somewhere. It's been around long enough that most of the questions have been asked. Sometimes you will see, though, that, pardon me, that if you take a look at one of the training or the documentation things, it might have the screen might not exactly look like yours because they're updating things, and maybe just the help files haven't get updated. But if you have to, you can always contact them direct. They're really good about getting back to you. So we're going to go over here on the far right where it says start mapping. We're going to get logged in. Got a little banner there. CalTopo will be down for an hour on the 16th when they merge the two. There we go. That's what I was just talking about. So right here, even without being logged in, we can see a map and we can actually do some stuff. So it always defaults out to the United States. I'm going to zoom into my little part of the world here in Northwest Indiana. And even without being logged in, because you see it still says log in up here, I can change stuff. So this is actually really kind of cool. You can, without even having an account, you can use this like you would Google Map or something like that, just to look at something. Not everything is available, which makes sense, because to get all the cool stuff, you have to pay, or having a free public safety account. But there's a lot of stuff here. And I'm pretty sure I actually used this one time many, many years ago, before we even had our team up and running. So, you know, it's there. You can use it. You can mess with it without even having to be logged in. But I'm gonna go ahead and log in. Hit that big login button, and then you get this little pop-up. Once you establish your account with SARTopo, you can log in with a plethora of different formats. I'm set up so that either one of my main Google accounts will log me in. So I'm going to hit continue with Google. And I'm going to get the very familiar Google login page. And I'm going to pick my personal EMT Micah. And that goes right back. And now I'm logged in. So it's got the account name I'm logged in with up here in the upper right. There's a few things down here in this map layers that are now on that were not on before. And I'm ready to make a map. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the far left of the screen, and we're going to just go around. I will highlight some stuff, show you a few things here and there, just to get familiar with the interface. Some of you, I'm sure, are already familiar with it. If you've been using it to any degree, there was a fairly decent change within the last, I say it was like within the last 9 months, to the interface. It might have been a little bit longer than that. So if it's been a while since you looked in here, it does look different. If you see any of the older versions of the PowerPoint presentation from tonight, it's got some of the older screenshots as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start up in the far top left, and where it says Cal Topo, that is actually a link. If I click on that, it will take me back to that main screen so I can get to the help, the pricing, and anything like that. I have the button to quickly get to the help files. Again, open in a new tab so that if I am working on the map, I can flip back and forth. This is the same help files we looked at a couple minutes ago. This whole left pane is the map objects. Once we start putting things on our map, this is where it's going to show up at. Now, if you have a small screen and you need to get some landscape back, you can compact it, move things off, pull them back out. We can, like I said, this is where anything that we put on the map comes from. So I'm going to add something, and there's a couple different ways to add stuff to the map. The easiest way is right here, hit this big button. Now, I hit the add button, I've got a huge pop-up, and there is a lot of stuff on here. We're going to talk about some of it once we actually get to building a map. Some of it can be a little confusing because some things seem to be duplications of others, but there's a reason for that. All right. So anything that you would normally take your pen or your paper or your colored markers and draw on a paper map, this is the pop-up that's going to bring us those things. Whether we're putting a marker, a line, a polygon, which is a shape, whether we're making folders, which we'll talk about folders in a little while, to store your data cleanly and organized, range rings from our lost person behavior profiles. All that stuff is here on the left, as well as some pretty awesome stuff that normally you've got to pay a good amount of money for. Viewshed. In those portions of the country that actually have terrain, what Viewshed does is gives you an idea of what people can see from a specific place on the ground. You know, most of us here in the Midwest is flatland. So doesn't do us much good, but when we get mountains and we get some high terrain, it is a pretty important tool. Let's see, you got a question real quick. Will next Wednesday Zoom meeting be the same material or continuation of more good stuff? So tonight we're going over the what is where, and we're going to start adding stuff to a map. For next week, I'm going to give you guys stuff to add to your own maps, and we're going to share and compare and contrast and see how it goes. And everybody's going to get the same data. So we'll see if everybody comes up with conceivably the same type of map. All right. So and then we'll do some sharing with those maps and whatnot. So tonight's more of the where is it? So you can follow along if you want, but then next week we're actually, everybody that can be on is going to want to have their accounts, so they can be on and actually in SARTopo as we go. So that's a really good question. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you, Micah.
So that's adding. Pretty simple. Like I said, anything that you need to draw on the map, that's where you go to. We have the very typical zoom in and zoom out buttons. We'll zoom in a little bit here. Let's see, where's my work? There it is. You can also, besides the plus buttons, you can zoom in with the scroller on your mouse. That works perfectly fine. For anybody who's interested, this is Indiana Dunes National Park headquarters. Let's see, my car. Nope, not in the parking lot that day. We'll zoom back out. One of the layers that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes is stock satellite imagery. It's not always as up to date as Google, but it's usually pretty good. Anyway, continuing with the buttons on the left-hand side, we have the big I, the info button. If I wanted to share with somebody the view of my map right here, I can give them this URL. And when you look at it, it's actually got the latitude and longitude in decimal degrees for the spot we're looking at is built into this URL. So if I said, hey, you know, I call up Jason in Pennsylvania, like, Jason, can you look at this one spot for me? I can go to info. That's kind of a long URL, hit shorten. I can just email Jason this link and he will see exactly the piece of my big map that I want him to put eyeballs on, which can be kind of cool when you need somebody to, you know, give a certain perspective on things. The next is print. Printing is interesting in here. When you go to print a map, really what it's doing is, as you can see, it open another tab, but it's kind of like the print setup on your computer. The format that I use 99% of the time is what's called the geospatial PDF. You can see that up here on the top left on this first drop down. You can, through an agreement that SARTopo has set up, you can order paper maps to be printed for you. Large format is kind of on a right in the rain type of paper. You can also do JPEG images, but the geospatial PDF is awesome because A, it's a PDF, so it's a common file type, easy to email, but also if you are familiar with the Avenza app, Avenza is a free mapping program that you can put on your devices that allows you to take a PDF map and navigate across it and work offline, which is great. We use it a lot in wildland fire because a lot of our fires are in the middle of nowhere. You know, there is no cell service to be able to do online mapping. So having that geospatial PDF on your iPad, your phone, or whatever, it's phenomenal. It's a great tool. Now, so I am logged in under my Teams account. That means that I can have outputs anywhere from an 8.5 by 11 up to pretty much as big as I want. I'm very fortunate that I have a 24-inch plotter in my office at work at the park. So I've run off maps 24 by 36 before. I've got a couple of our state park that is in the middle of our national park. So right now it's set at 8.5 by 11. You can see this red boundary here. That's what it's going to print. If I grab the dot in the middle, I drag it around, that's my area that's going to print. Let me change it up real quick. I'll go to 11 by 17. That changed a little bit. The size of that did. Let's go down to here, about 24 by 36. This didn't change much, right? That's because my scale is not set. All right. Go back to basic SAR work and what is the scale of your map? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to set this to typical 1 to 24,000, what our basic USGS topo quads are in. And holy cow, that red box just changed. All right. As I zoom way out here, that 24 by 36 and 1 to 24,000, that's pretty goddamn big. You can change the DPI, which is dots per inch, so kind of the quality. A place to title your map, which is really important because as you'll see here in a minute, you can actually save these maps to your account on the SARTopo servers. Besides just downloading them, saving them on your hard drive, they can reside up there for a while, which is great when you're talking about pre-planning and things like that. So let me take this back to a normal size, 8.5 by 11. Bring it back to a decent spot. You know what? I'm actually I'll zoom this over. Let's see, right about there. Yep. This is our secret training spot in the national park that our team has. It's good to work for the national park and have friends there because they let us train in the park. Some teams don't even go into national parks because of politics. We're pretty fortunate. So I'm going to title this training area. And, you know, I'm used to having maps with grid lines. So I'm going to tell the system, hey, give me some grids. Give me US national grid. But then I want some lat long as well because I can. Which datum? You know, everything's either WGS 84 or NAD 27. I won't go into the differences, the commonalities. Around here in the Midwest, it's all pretty close. I'm gonna set WGS 84. Then here's the PDF management. This is the cool thing. Where do I want to save this map to? So I can save it to my personal account. All right. It's pretty much where all my stuff's at. But how long do I want it to stay there? If this is a map that's a pre-plan or it's it shows a lot of stuff from a case we've worked, I can leave it on the servers indefinitely. I can set it for forever. I don't know if there's really a need for that since you can download them. In this case, I'm gonna go 30 days and we'll go from there. Now, if I had a map, this area already that I'd made, and I wanted to save over top of it, that's what this load from is. So I could basically take the current map already saved on the server and write a new one over top of it with the same data. But I'm going to have save it as a new URL. So it's going to be a whole new map. I'm going to come down here. It's going to be a one-page map. You can do multi-page, hence the add page button right there. There we go. It pops up a new red square. I'll overlap them a touch. Same scale, same everything. They're both in portrait. If I totally mess this up, I could hit start over, nuke everything. But I'm going to hit the generate PDF button. I get a new tab. It's going to take a second or three. This is one of the things that you'll notice if you start printing a lot of stuff. What's going on is my computer is talking to the servers through the internet saying, hey, take that map, make it into a PDF. Depending on how much stuff is on there, the scale, the background, my connectivity, the number of people using the system, this might take a little while. Now it's already taken a little bit longer than it normally does to get a map up and running. And maybe because I had 2 pages. But what I can do is I can, while that's working in the background, oh, there it is. Sweet. Oh, it gave me 3 pages. Oh, that's what it did. Well, I don't think it did this last time. This is kind of cool. Check this out. So I'm going to open this in Acrobat. Let me rotate on the screen here. So what we ended up with is a reference page. You can see we have the blue lines are UTMs. Since that was the primary coordinate system, you can see the hash marks for decimal Latin long. We have our scale across the bottom. Training area, that's what I named it. Our datum, what US national grid we're in for the super map nerds. On the far right, we have our grid to magnetic difference. Here in Northwest Indiana, it's itty bitty. And then we go to page 2, and there's the zoomed in page. All right, I'll rotate it back around so it's upright. There we go. And then I can go down to page, the second one. So it's really cool because I mean, if you had to do this right here in the GIS program, like ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro, it's going to take you a little bit unless you really know what you're doing. Even if you know what you're doing and you don't do this all the time, it can take a little bit. I'm going to go back real quick though. And
If you have that on your phone, can you navigate off of that?
Yes, you can using the
awesome.
Avenza app.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yep. So that's what we call it. That's that georeference. We can cancel. So when I in the format, when I pick that and it defaults to this georeference PDF, that's the location of where that map is embedded in that PDF. And that's what that Avenza program reads. We actually use Avenza when we're off network to track or to capture data on wildfires, like fire perimeters, drop points, things we need to come back to. And then we export that data back out to our GIS specialists. You can do the same thing with this as well, so it's pretty cool. But real quick,
Hey,
what I'm
Micah?
gonna do, yes, sir.
Quick question. So I cannot send the map using my phone using the SARTopo
You can, kind of.
app. I have to use a Avenza app, a separate app?
Nope. No.
Okay.
So the Avenza thing is, it's really if you're working off grid, or if you don't have a lot of people that are super tech savvy and know how to run the SARTopo app. Before SARTopo had an app, this is what we did. And I'll show you how real quick. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole.
Okay. No, thank you. That answers my
No,
question.
that's fine.
Thank you.
Let me hit start. I'm going to hit start over. Hit OK. And I'm going to move this map over here to the steel mill. So we have a little bit different map to look at. I'm gonna leave everything the same. I'm gonna rename it steel mill, and then I'm gonna hit generate PDF. All right, now it should conceivably take less time now, because I didn't have multiple pages. It's only gonna give me 1 page, so there's no reference page or anything like that. Of course, my internet's just fast enough tonight. Okay, so here we go. We have everything. But the difference is this QR code right here is on the map. The Avenza program on your device can scan that QR code and directly import it from the SARTopo server. So you print this in your command post, or you
just
can
downloaded it to my phone.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah, you could you could scan it off the screen right there even, and it'll pull into your phone. This is a good tool. Like I said, for those who aren't super savvy, they want to see where things are at. They want to have it on their own device. You don't necessarily want to get them into the whole thing with SARTopo, that app. It's kind of quick and dirty. It's great for when you have no network connectivity. Literally, you can put your phone in airplane mode and then just make sure the GPS is on and navigate off this map all day long. All right, so I'm going to close that. Now remember what I named it, steel mill, right? We're gonna see that again here in a few minutes. So I'm going to close this print tab as well. I'm going to go back to my main map. So we were just on the print button. I'm going to go down here to the measure button. All right, in the system, we can measure and look at all kinds of different stuff, not just measuring a distance, but areas, bearing. We can look at sun exposure. This is pretty slick. So what I'm going to do here, the map is still centered on where I work. So I'm going to scroll down this pop-up a little bit. I'm going to get to distance. And we have 2 driveways. And I want to know how far it is from one driveway to the other. Now, once I clicked that distance, you see all these yellow lines that popped up? This is one of the awesome things about this system. See these yellow lines popped up, and up here in the left-hand side of my map window is this snap to. Now, there's a thing out there called OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is the mapping version of Wikipedia. If you didn't know, pretty much anybody can go into Wikipedia and edit things. OpenStreetMap is the same concept. So as new subdivisions are built, trails are put in, people can update this map with that data. Well, what SARTopo lets us do, since I want to measure from one driveway to the other along the road, it's going to let me, you see, I've got my cursor there. It's a little hard to see. It's gray. But as I move across to my road, now it's gone back to a hand. I'm going to click at one spot. Now I've got a line, and I'm going to go down to the other driveway and click. All right. Now I clicked once. Up in the middle of the screen, it says from one spot to another, it's 180 degrees true north, or 185 magnetic. It's 198 meters between driveways and 650 feet. But what if I also wanted to know from the north driveway to the south driveway and then into the middle of the parking lot? You see how the black line follows the yellow? It lets you snap or trace along those roads. In this case, it's 2,300 feet. Now let me go back and do that again. So I went to the measure button in distance. This yellow line that curves around here. Oh, actually, I'll do one better. I'm gonna hit escape, and that took me off of my measure. Just like in regular computer software, hitting escape stops what you're in. I'm gonna scroll left a little bit, zoom out just a touch, and I'm gonna go measure again. So I hit the measure button and measure distance. Right in the middle of my screen, right where my cursor's at, that's actually a historic cemetery. I want to know how far it is along the trail from that historic cemetery down to this road that runs east-west. So I'm going to go to the top, I'm going to click, and as long as my cursor is relatively following the yellow, it's going to measure exactly along that, which is phenomenal. I hit the road, I double click, 1,202 feet. Think about that for measuring distances that maybe somebody may have walked along a forest trail, a shoreline, the road. It's a pretty slick way to do measurements. Other measurements that are in here, area, okay? I want to know from here to here to here to here, all the way around back to this road, back to here. I'm going to double click. Oh, that's funny. It didn't give me nothing. It gave me a polygon with the area of 0. There we go. Now I just made a polygon of 10 acres, or I measured a polygon of 10 acres, but it didn't show up, did it? I just measured something without drawing something. A couple other things that I want you to see under here under measure. Position and elevation, location in all coordinate formats. This is pretty slick. You know, we've got different ways to read Latin long, whether it's decimal degrees, decimal minutes, degrees minutes seconds, degrees minutes decimal seconds. When I click on this, I get this icon here. Jan, you got a SARTopo screen is blurry. It might be connection speeds. I haven't moved it much. We'll give it a couple minutes, see if it changes for you. But I'm gonna, right now I have my crosshair cursor. I'm gonna move it over here to park headquarters and the left click. And what it just did is I got a pop-up now of the elevation for where I clicked, as well as the lat long in different formats. Now, Jan, one of those two things I need to come see you about next week is literally this right here. How am I going to read this location over the radio? 41 degrees. I'm going to read the bottom one. Actually, I'm going to read the second from the bottom. 41 degrees, 37.905 minutes north by 87 degrees, 05.277 minutes west. It kind of dummy proofs lat long and stuff for us. Tells you how to read it. You can copy this, say I need to copy this into my IAP. Boom, there we go. Copy, Control C, good to go. I can drop that into another document. In fact, I'll drop that over here into the chat. And now in the chat, you can see that lat long that I just read off for the place that I clicked the cursor. Pretty slick for just grabbing data off of your map without necessarily having lines, dots, polygons, markers. There's a lot here. Let's see, simulated view. See simulated view. So I'm going to click along the road. Now, what this has done, and I said this is kind of a flat land here. What this has done is it's taken the map and it said, hey, if this person is standing where they clicked at, this is what the horizon would conceivably look like. Well, it looks flat, right? Let me get out of this. And actually, I'm going to show you the next thing. We're going to go about 10 more minutes. We're going to take a break. Up here in the middle of the screen, it says enter coordinates or a location name. This is a great search box. We're going to go to, let's see, what's the name of Mount Washington. I'm going to click. Now I'm going to zoom out and zoom out some more. That is Mount Washington, right? It's up in, was that New Hampshire? Okay. Anybody been up there? I've driven up there. It was cold as crap. I actually follow them on Facebook. The researchers are up there are slightly crazy. Highly entertaining though. So if I go back to here, so I'm zoomed in, Mount Washington's in the middle of my screen. I click measure and I want to see, what was that again? That's where that go. Simulated view, ground view, 3D level. So I'm gonna click that and I'm gonna click on the top of Mount Washington. Now we got some terrain. So if say you've got somebody and you know where they're at, and they're like, well, I can see a hilltop here, I can see a hilltop there. If you enter their location and then you do this, you can actually scroll and, oh, hey, look, here's all of the different mountains, hills, and named things that they can see. Now, from this point of view, it looks kind of flat, right? So let me get out, and I'm going to do this again, but I'm going to go part way down the Mount Washington Road. Now we're actually looking up a little bit as I scroll along. There's the hill behind me. All right, so you can get an idea. If
Hey, Micah,
somebody's
I'm
on-
sorry. Are you
Oh, no,
clicking
go
on
ahead.
simulated view there? View and then simulated view?
Yep,
Measure and then simulated view. Okay, thank you.
yep. This is an awesome one to play with. This is kind of like playing with it in Google Earth a little bit. If you've ever played in Google Earth where it's 3D and you like get down in the bottom of the valley and you look up the hill, same kind of idea. But it has all of these named hills and mountains and things. Could be potentially a lifesaver in some areas where you've got some terrain. Here in the majority of the Midwest, not much of a big deal, but a really cool tool. Pardon me. I said that was under measure, then simulated view. All right. Say somebody knows they're on Mount Washington and they can see. Oh, I saw. Where is it? They're on Mount Washington and they can see this curve in the road down here. All right. I can go bearing. I'm going to turn off the snapping so all those yellow lines go away. From here to there, again, it's like when you're looking on your map and you've got two known points, you can figure out what the distances are. You can do some of this on the device, on a phone with SARTopo. It's a little bit different. And it's not I don't think it's exactly called the same thing. I'll show you guys here in a little bit where there's some new cheat sheets that they just started putting together for the mobile device, for kind of learning it on the fly. But mainly this is a couple of tools are for when you're looking at the map on a bigger screen, on a laptop or a desktop or a big flat screen of Command Post or something. All right, so we'll get out of that. There's a bunch of other stuff here under the measure tool that you can take a look at and use. Terrain statistics, structures. What's one of the things with doing a search for kids with autism? Check all the structures, right? Well, how many structures do we need to check? How many structures are in a given area? This uses some open source data to actually tell us how many structures are out there. So you can use do some planning. So let's try that one out. We're going to go to, oh, I know. We're going to go to Boone, Michigan. Boone, Michigan is a very small town. About 5 miles from where I grew up. And say we're looking for, 10-year-old kid with autism that disappeared in this area. Crap, I got to search a lot of structures maybe, right? Well, how many are there? You go to measure, parcel count. Whoops, I clicked too fast. My bad. So measure, structure count is what I wanted. I'm going to measure, draw a polygon around downtown Boone. There's 73 structures right there. Okay. What if these were large buildings? That might be a lot of work to do, huh? Is there a setting we can turn on that flags a specific address that we search to really pinpoint? Yes. And in fact, what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to set a timer on the screen. And when we come back, we're going to jump over to the other side of the screen and get into the map layers. I'm going to show you how we can find address information, how we can search for addresses, how we can find the address for a piece of land we might already be on, and then how we can drop markers on those. All right. Question: should we have laptops for the MLPI class? Yes. If you are able to bring a computer, do so. In fact, between tonight and next week, because the class is almost full, there's one more seat left. So if you know somebody, tell them to jump on it, because we're going to cap it at 15. Between now and next week, since we've got almost everybody registered, I'm going to email you guys a link to a Google Drive with some information for the class. That was that came out of the after action review from the last course we taught, that folks wish they had some of the information ahead of time. And so I'm going to give you who's in your group, who's in all the groups, contact info, give you some references, give you a link to a generic map, give you a link to the NIMS IAP. And each team, there's going to be 3 groups, will have their own folder of stuff to work on. So I'm going to start populating those in the next couple of days and emailing those out, because you're going to be working with that data during the class. So not just the maps, not just the NIMS IAP, but there might be some times where you've got to pull up a blank PDF, 214 and hand jam some stuff in there, or do some Googling. How big is a Bell 204? How big of a landing zone is it going to need? Because it's a scenario, 4-day scenario. So you might have to look up some generic information off of Google while we're in class too. So if you have the capacity, bring one, and I'll in the next email I send to all the students, I'll put that out there that, hey guys, if you've got one, bring it. All right. So I have 7:01 Central Time, for those of you not around here. Let's come back in 10 minutes and we will pick up where we left off. Sound good? All righty. See you in a few. Okay, so so far we've gone over just kind of the general idea of SARTopo being online mapping, how to get to it, log in, where you can go for help, where you can go for some of the pricing and such, if you want to buy in, which I know several of us have done. We've logged in, so we're logged in right now under my account. We've gone through the majority of stuff on the screen. What we're going to play with now is some of the different backgrounds, map layers, the base layers, and then the overlay layers. Okay, because that's one of the things where SARTopo really makes its money. All right, so let me share screen with you again. Over here to screen 2. All right. So here we are again in SARTopo, and we're looking at Boone, Michigan, the sprawling metropolis that it is. All right. On the right-hand side, just like the map objects on the left, if we need to, in order to get more screen space, we can hit this little caret here. And that'll move it out of the way, bring it right back. Starting at the top and working our way down, the first thing we have is a drop down for all the different base layers. Now, think of base layers as the paper map that you're drawing on, okay? You can go get the Rand McNally Atlas. You can get the free street map from the mayor's office. You can have your 1 to 24,000 7.5 minute topo quad from USGS. Those are the paper maps. That's what these base layers are. There are a whole crap ton of them in here. Okay. Luckily, some of the best combinations of maps have already been put together for us. And those are actually down here on the bottom under this preset combinations. For example, I'm going to click on this one. It says Map Builder Topo. You're going to see my map change. All right. It's already gathered some of the good stuff and tossed it together in a little package. Now, if I wanted, I could have scrolled through all this stuff over here and found that. Okay. If I want, I can go back down here to the preset combos and I can click hybrid satellite. So what that's going to do is it just got satellite map, but it added contour lines, and which is check marked here on the right, and it added some map builder overlays. Okay. Now the map builder overlays, think of it like the streets, all the names of places, all the data as its own layer that you can just put over top of whatever maps. Right. One thing that you may have noticed down here in the lower right-hand corner, you guys know what that little logo is for? That little dude? Everybody know what that is? I'll tell you, it's a Google product.
Is that for Street View?
It is
Yeah.
Google Street View. I'm gonna click on it and drag. Oh, darn, none of the colors changed to say where you can drop me. Okay. What I can do is I'm gonna go up here to satellite, and you can see right here is all 4 of the Google layers that you would normally get through a Google map. This is where it gets a little, one of the ways it gets a little weird. So I'm gonna go to satellite. So I'm looking right at the Google map. Now I'm gonna drag this dude over. Oh, he's, well, geez, maybe there's no Google Street Maps in Boone. I didn't think of that. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere. There we go. Oh yeah, that's it. There's one. So while we're in SARTopo, we can still use some of those cool features that come out of Google. Now, because of the nature of Google and licensing agreements and things like that, you can't access everything in SARTopo that you can get from Google Map. If you have a paid account or a pro account, you can access a lot, but you can only do all that stuff from the computer through the browser interface. If you are on your app, you'll lose some of the Google stuff. And it just has to do with licensing and prices and whatnot. Trying to zip down the street here. Oh, here we go. Almost. Not that one. Yeah. There's Mom and Dad's house. I am truly a map nerd. That's the Google Street View of the house I grew up in. Just like everything else in the system, I hit exit. Oh, it doesn't want to pop me out there. Maybe I moved around too much. I hit this back arrow up here. There we go. We went back to our map. The whole point there was showing that there is some Google integration in CalTopo and SARTopo, but not all of it. Some of the cool stuff like Street View is there, which can be really awesome. You know, you're planning a search area and you're like, what does this look like from that street? Well, there you go. So you got the satellite, Google Satellite, Google Terrain. One of the nice things about Google Terrain, it doesn't take a lot of data. It loads very quickly. So if you are on a poor internet connection on your computer in the middle of nowhere, the Google Maps, Terrain, and the base Google map, they load rather quickly because they're a very plain map. There's nothing here. Doesn't have like Map Builder Hybrid, which we're switching over, which is a topo map over top of a satellite image. Okay, you saw it loaded slower because there's more data there. So that is one of the good things about having some of the Google product available in here. This is actually one of the maps that I like to use a lot, the Map Builder Hybrid. But one of the cool things about the system, and I'll go back to Map Builder Topo real quick, is that sometimes there's stuff on one map base layer that you want to see on another base layer. So let's go to Mount Washington again. All right. So Mount Washington, if you didn't know, it's about 8,000 feet. It's snowy. It's like a blizzard up there right now. I'm looking at it in Map Builder Topo, but say I needed to look at it with a little bit more stuff. I'm going to come down here. So what I've done is by clicking Stack Base Layer, it's opened another drop down for all of the different base layers available. I'm going to scroll down to Shaded Relief. I'm going to click that. Now I see my map changed to a Shaded Relief map. What I can do is this slider right here changes the opacity of the second layer. So when I put Shaded Relief over top of that topo map, it helps it pop out. So for folks who aren't really good with reading a topo map with the contour lines and stuff, this really can help make that map 3D so you can better understand the terrain. Another really cool trick, and I'm going to go back to the National Park headquarters, this one, because I know it's there. So in the search area, I type Dune Acres, which is the little community right down the street from National Park headquarters. So I'm still in the same maps. I've got my Shaded Relief. And as I move it back and forth, you can really kind of see how some of the I won't call them hills, but some of the areas that are taller than others pop out a little bit. Right there, probably about the 25, 26 percentage mark is where it pops out really good. But one of the other really neat things about SARTopo is there are other maps that are available out there. Some of the same ones that you can download through the Avenza map program, they're already accessible here. An example of those, I'm going to go to Stack Map Sheets. I clicked the plus. I can add to my map the same national park brochure map that everybody gets at the visitor center. So, for example, I've got somebody that is maybe lost. There's no clue where they're at. The only map they have is the folding map they got at the visitor center. They've got a flip phone with no GPS capability at all. They're saying, well, on the map, I'm right here by the S in Dune Acres. Well, if I don't have the park map to look at on my screen, I don't know where the S in Dune Acres is. But when I turn on this map sheet, boom shakalaka. Now I can take and I can have my same data. I've just added one more sheet. In this case, it's actually a PDF that is stored up on the SARTopo servers. Kind of a cool thing here. I don't know if it'll show up or not right now. Oh, here you go. Well, I'll go back to Boone, because I know some exist up there. So we're going back to Michigan. I'm going to hit the Stack Map Sheet. The national parks have visitor maps, right? When you get into the national forests, they're going to have snowmobile maps. They're going to have off-roading maps. That's what all these are. So anywhere that this stuff is available, you can probably pull it into your incident map and use it as a layer. So up here, we're in northern Michigan. The motor vehicle use map for this portion of the Huron-Manistee National Forest, I open it up, there it is. There's roads on that forest use map that aren't on my actual topo map. So when you're dealing with a lost hunter, a lost somebody on 4x4 ATV off in the middle of nowhere. Maybe all they have is that motor vehicle use map, or vice versa. Maybe they're on this map, but have no clue where they are on the other one. It gives you a different way to look at the same terrain with different maps. It's pretty slick. That's probably one of my favorite toys. If you really nerd out, you can actually make your own maps to put up there. Or if you have, and I know, like, so the state parks, their paper maps are not geo-referenced. You can go and download a lot of them off the state park properties here in Indiana, off their websites, but they're not geo-referenced. There's actually a trick, and this is going way down and deep in the weeds, where you can actually import that into here and still geo-reference it. So it'll show up. So you can all be looking at the same map that maybe your victim has, and maybe start, doing some psychology there, thinking what they're thinking, or looking at the same map they've got to figure out how they got wherever they are. The map sheets is just, it's a really cool tool, right? So I'm going to turn a couple things off and turn that off. I'll leave my shaded relief up because that's probably one of the more handy tools up there. But we're going to scroll down using the slider bar. All right, and we're going to come into map overlays. Now, overlays, you have to think of overlays as more pieces of the map, but you can look through them. It's like if you had a piece of acetate that you were drawing on the acetate over top of your paper map. Okay. One of the really good things about this, I'm going to click on this where it says public lands, and it's going to start shading the map. Now you see a lot of the areas that were already green went darker green. There's a legend down here on the bottom. That green color is U.S. Forest Service property. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to move just a touch northwest. And we see with that public lands layer turned on, I've got all this purple up here. Well, that purple is National Park Service. This right here is Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore in northern Michigan. So where there's areas where you're dealing with public lands, you can tell whose public land that is by turning the public lands layer on, or turn it right back off. Now, this, I think, Jan, I think you asked about this earlier, a little bit about addresses and whatnot. So I'm going to zoom in. I happen to know this area a little bit. The next box that I can click underneath public lands is called parcel data. I'm going to click that, and we start getting all of these purple lines. All of your data on parcels you own, pieces, legal descriptions of property, all that stuff is up in the cloud. And now we have it on our map. There's a little drop down here next to parcel data. It's giving a site address. So if I zoom in, I'm going to zoom into these streets down here on the edge of the lake. This property right here, the street address is 6613. And then up here you see it's Edgewater. So maybe I have this turned on my map on my device as I'm doing a search. I'm not sure the physical address I'm at. There you go. I can look at it, and I'm at the property I'm on is 6613 Edgewater. Send me a cop. Send me an ambulance. What if I need to know who owns it? Well, I can click to ownership, zoom in a little bit more. Stephen Mahalik owns 6613. Okay. Maybe I'm looking for a parcel that is owned by the subject's family. Okay. Now that I know this parcel is here, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to drop a marker on it. And hey, this land owned by the Stephen Mahalik guy, I'm going to throw a label on it. Needs to be investigated more. I'm going to come down here to style. I'm going to say, hey, I want it to be something big and obvious. question mark, maybe there's a clue there. Okay, so I have used, oh, we didn't get to that part yet. Can't believe nobody asked me about saving. Now that I finally added an object to the map, it wants me to save it. Now, that's one of the very interesting things about SARTopo. You can be goofing around down here, but until you actually add an object, whether it's a point, a line, a polygon, a geographic area, until you add one of those, it doesn't give you the option to save it. Now that I have added a marker based on that parcel data that we found, it's like, hey, dude, you want to save this? So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to choose a map name. I'm going to call it SARTopo Session 1. And it's going to save it to my account. Now, this checkbox right here is super important. Always show these layers on load instead of the most recently selected. So the last last MLPI class we ran into, people were having a problem because they were changing layers to what they needed. Then they'd get out of the map and come back in and everything was gone. It's because of this. If you have this checked, every time I open this map right now, it's going to show me this exact same view with the exact same layers turned on. But if I have it unchecked, it'll show me the last view that I had. Pretty important, okay? So I'm going to tell it to, I'm going to tell it to go ahead and save. So it always opens with these layers. Now, this is where we get into map sharing, okay? I can do it here. I can do it from another spot down the road. But since we're getting to the point where we're saving our map, this is a really important spot to hit it. Right now, when I save this map, anybody with a web address to this map can get to it. Okay, anybody, whether they got a SARTopo account or not, anybody can find this map. What I generally do, if we have a map for a search, is I click it over to secret. What that means is only somebody with a code that I give them can access my map, or somebody that is in my team account where I'm going to move this map here in a few minutes. Only those people can view the map. So I hit secret. Tell us about your map. This is a really awesome place to put something like a case number from law enforcement. So I'm going to put Porter County Sheriff's Department 22-000107. Okay. Just as a reference, and I'm going to hit save. Okay. Little screen refresh, and it's gone. Now, if I decide I need to change how I'm going to save the map, I come back over here to the info button again. You see when I hover over it, it says details/sharing. Well, I get mostly the same pop-up that I just saw when I click on it. So I can change my comments, I can rename it. Here is right here. That is the short URL to this. So if I needed to, I could email that to somebody. But if I want somebody who is not here with me, maybe somebody remote, to be able to access my map and work on it, that's where I come down here to additional access and create shareable link. This is kind of new in the SARTopo. I will admit we haven't used it that much yet, but I'm going to click on this. Okay. I want somebody who can just read the map, but not do anything else with it. So they can just look at it. I'm going to leave it to read. I'm going to hit OK. And then I get this URL, and lo and behold, I get a QR code as well. Now, right now, feel free if you want, you can zap that QR code. It will take you to that map, but it won't let you do anything to it. We go back to the map. Say I need somebody who can actually write on the map and do stuff. I'm going to click write. Well, I'm sorry. Leave that and read them. Create a new one. I'm going to make it right. And I'm going to hit OK. And it gave me both another URL to share and another QR code. So maybe if I've got people in an operations cell doing planning for my map, I want them to scan that one. If I got, you know, the mayor, the county commissioner, they just want to know, they just want to see the map because they think they're important, I'm going to give them that one that only says read, so they don't screw with my stuff. All right.
Hey, Micah.
Yes.
Hey, I've got a question. How would you send this QR code to somebody standing next to you out in the woods?
Well, I right click, save as, and then it's just a JPEG. And then you
So
can
save
do
it,
that.
okay. And then send a JPEG and a text
what
or
I would-
something like that. Okay.
Well, through what if I'm going to text it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably send them the URL. The QR codes here, these are actually designed so that you can just print them, stick them on the command post, and say, hey, scan this with your device.
Right, right.
If they're scanning the one that has write permission and they've already got the SARTopo app on their device, it should open in SARTopo
Okay,
and with the proper permissions.
got it. Thank you.
Let's see. So if I need to, I can change my comments. Maybe the county cop or state police shows up. Great, just what I want. It's going to be, you know, District 13, 22. Lots of numbers. I don't know how they do the case number, whatever. Okay, I can add that to it. So everybody's got their case number on the thing. So so that was there under detail sharing. Maybe I don't want anybody to see this map. Maybe this was a case that went sideways. The only people that need it are me and the detective. I'm hitting private. Okay, ain't nobody getting to this thing but me. I've already gave a PDF copy to the cops. It's done. Okay. Now, there's a kind of a different way to do some sharing if you have a team account. So you see up here, up above the plus and minus, our map is named now. Okay, so I called it SARTopo session 1. I'm going to go over here to my data, where it says your data. I'm going to click this button. What? Well, that's odd. I'm missing some data. That's interesting. I might have an account problem. Either way, I went and did my data, and here's the 2 maps that I already had in here. SARTopo session 1. There's the descriptor. Okay, then in this case, I'm using a law enforcement case number. And there's my sharing. I can change it from here. I can make it secret. I can make it shareable, public, viewable with the URL, whatever. Here's the other map that I already had saved in here. Now, since I already had this Bobcat Fire map saved in here, I can click on this, or in this case, I'm going to right click, open a new tab. There's a map I made from a wildfire I was on 2 years ago. That data is still there. You know, this doesn't take up much space on the server. Yeah, Jan, I think somehow I think you're right. Somehow I got into a CalTopo server instead of the SARTopo server, but whatever, not worried about it. It's all the same stuff. And they're merging it. I'm going to go back over to here to my main map though. So this, your data, this is a pretty important pop-up for you. Okay. Maps that you make, this is where they show up at. Say you open a map I sent you. You can bookmark it. It'll show up here. Those PDFs that we went to print, they show up right here. And I can click on them again. So I'll right click on this one, open it in a new tab. And it's going to bring up that PDF I made of the steel mill. Same thing we looked at earlier. Same QR code down in the bottom. All right. So the your data is literally how you get to everything you've done in SARTopo. You can make your own layers, which is kind of fun. That's definitely some advanced level stuff. You need to have some GIS knowledge. If you don't, but you have the data to make your own layers, the SARTopo staff, they'll help you get through it. If we're going to make multiple sheets, or if I'm going to upload my own map sheets, those PDFs, this is where I can do it at. You know, what is the file? Where do I get to it? And it'll upload those PDF maps straight into here. So that you've got those. If maybe it's one you created or one somebody gave you that's not already available in the system to download. You can have custom icons, which is kind of cool. I mean, maybe I want my team's logo to be the logo we use for the command post. I can do that. Okay. Again, some advanced stuff. You're probably not going to do any of it. I haven't done any icons or anything like that because it's already got the basic incident command system icons in the program. You don't really need them. Okay. So I'll hit cancel out of that. I'm gonna hit OK. That pops out. Let's zoom out a little bit. You can see as I zoom out, my label, which in this case I called it needs to be investigated. That changes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the partial data just to clean the map up a little bit. All right. And say we're looking for, you know, a subject right around here. I need to put his place last seen, right? That's one of the very first things we put on the map. I'm going to hit add marker. And we'll say the gentleman is missing from this intersection over here. All right. I'm going to drag the red dot. Label, I'm going to call PLS. And if I know that, say the address, you know, it's 21 Edgewater. All right. I can put that in the comments. I'm going to come over here to style. I'm going to click on style. I'm going to get a pop-up of all the different icons in the system, either the standard ones it came with or any additional ones that I built. All right. We try to be consistent in our icons, specifically place last seen. I try to use this one that's originally designed for fire origin because it kind of stands out. So I'm going to click that. I hit OK. There we go. Boom. So there's my place last seen. There's a place to be investigated. And you can see these things are starting to populate over here under the map objects. All right. Well, let's say I have, based on information, I know this missing subject likes to walk up the road and walk this trail over here. All right. Putting that into SAR management speak, I've got a linear hasty search that needs to get done. So I'm going to come over here to add. Hit add. And I am going to, oh, that's it. Bear with me 1 minute. I thought something looked a little funny. I am 100% in the wrong place, in the wrong account. Because I just realized some of the SAR specific stuff wasn't there. I don't quite know how it ended up tossing me into CalTopo. Now, right at the beginning, I said there's CalTopo and then there's SARTopo. And for the moment, they're on different servers, but they're going to be merged. Somehow I got into the CalTopo server. So I'm back at SARTopo.com. I'm going to hit the login, continue with Google, pick my account. Now I'm going to go up to your data. And I should have a whole plethora of, there we go. That looks a lot better. This is all my stuff. So I somehow got into the wrong account. This is all my everything. So under your maps, every map that I have made for a search is on here. That's a lot of maps. You can sort them by name, by how they're shared. Well, I guess you can't sort by that. I can sort by date, which is kind of cool. So the first map I made and saved under this account was April 2016, all the way back to my most recent one, one that I started to make for us for tonight, using the state park. The last one I used on an actual case was back here in August. We've had a few call outs since then, but I wasn't around to make the maps. I was out west doing wildfires. Here's all my bookmarks, which if you start following the SARTopo folks on Facebook and Twitter, they will hold webinars sometime. Cool thing about the webinars that they do is just like we're going to do next week, they will share a link for a live map so you can play on the same map they are. When you do that, that's bookmarking. You're opening somebody else's map. So I've got all the maps that they have shared with me or that we have made in practice and training. So Sipsey Wilderness Trailheads, this will open up. This is some map from a SARTopo training event. So kind of cool how you can access all that stuff. So I'm gonna go back to your data again. All of the maps that I've PDF'd are right here. If I've saved it and I'm still within the window to save it, here it is. Now you can see a lot of them are set to never. That's ones that are from something important I need to hold on to. I've got them saved in a file storage as a PDF, but I've also got them up here in the server as a PDF as well. Now you'll see under the account column on some of my maps, some of them are under your account, some of them are under Porter County SAR. This is where that paid team account thing comes into play. So real quick, I am going to go to, let's see, you go back to your maps. I'm going to go to the map that I made for class tonight that we haven't used yet, but that's okay. I'm going to click on it. And it just brings me into, this is Indiana Dunes State Park here in Northwest Indiana. Right now, this map is under my account. It is open to anybody with the maps URL to see, but I want it to be not under my account. I want it to be under our team account. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to your data, get that pop up again. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit this drop down and I'm going to tell it, put it in the Porter County SAR account. Now it just disappeared off of here, right? I'm going to go over to here, map saved to. I'm going to click Porter County SAR, which is the name of our team account. And there's all the maps that are saved. Now, earlier Dominic was on. Dom can log in to SARTopo on his device or on his computer at home. When he looks on either place at map saved to the team account, this is what he's going to see. This right here is an amazing time saver. One of the things that we have done is we have made what we call the starter map. So, and right now there's more maps in here than I like to keep. I usually only like to keep 2 maps in here, maybe 3. So our rule, when we go to start a map, whoever's creating the map, and I have several admins that can do this and are experienced, they go into SAR, into the team, they go to that starter map, and they open it up, and that is always the base of the map for our search. It defaults to Google because Google opens quickly. and it's got just a handful of things already on it. You can see one of the things that I've got on it. Well, let's go back to the left-hand side. We're going to talk about a little bit about how some things are stored in here. This is going to be extremely important in the MLPI class, because out of that 4-day class, you've got about 3 days worth of scenario. You're going to be continually adding stuff to your map. Just like when we put Post-it notes on the map on the wall, they're going to be putting digital Post-it notes on your map. Okay. It's very easy to get buried in Post-it notes. So what SARTopo lets us do is create folders. What we have done at Porter County Search and Rescue, and different places do it differently, I have pre-made folders to help keep us organized. So, and I'll go ahead and I'll do it on this map, and then I'll delete it. Say I have an incident where over here at West Beach, which is part of the national park, there's something going on, and I have a clue to a missing person case found here in the parking areas. Okay. 2 different ways that I can add the something. I can either click on the add button over here on the left and go to marker, or as my cursor is moving across the screen, I don't know if you caught that I did this, I can right click and I get a little pop-up again. This pop-up tells me the latitude, longitude for where I'm at. And also it says, hey, you already clicked on that spot. Do you just want to go ahead and make a marker there? And I say, yes, I do. And I get that same pop-up that allows me to start editing my iconology. All right. So, so I just added place last seen, and you see it showed up under the markers folder. All right. Say I get somebody out here and out by the bathhouse. Again, I did right click. I'm going to do clue. And they found a bath towel that we think belongs to our subject. All right. Oh, I can't spell towel, evidently. Towel. There we go. I'm good with letters. So we labeled it bath towel. Now you can see this pop-up based on the fact that I said it was a clue. This pop-up is giving me a few different fields to fill in. These are what we call attributes. The attributes are the data behind the graphic on the map. This is where GIS makes its money. This is the bread and butter. All right. There's the coordinates. Right here, I have all of the folders that I've already made on the left already showed up. So I'm going to put this in the clues and the intel folder. I don't have an assignment. My instructions are to mark, leave it. If I've got other details, or I can say by the bathhouse, or actually, yeah, it's more by the flagpole. I hit OK. All that data goes into attributes. Now look over here on the left, because I said add that to the clues folder. There we go. Even though it's a marker, it's adding it to the folder to help keep me organized. Say this map markers folder gets too thick, I can turn them all off. Okay, I can turn off one at a time, just so I can see that place last seen marker just disappeared. Boom. Okay. This marker right here, 7451, 7452, that's our command post vehicles. That's our Tahoe and our trailer. I can click on this, edit it, and say, hey, so everybody knows where the command post is. I'm going to put it, come on, put it here. See if it did it. Didn't move on me. That's okay. let's see. Oh, range rings, right? Lost person behavior data. So if this is my PLS, I need to put my range rings on my map. So I'm going to hover over it. I'm going to right click again and add object here. It says range ring. This is one of those big money makers, right? I'm going to left click that. So it's got the coordinates I clicked at, and I'm going to put range rings at, and I'm just making this up out of whatever profile, 0.2, comma, 0.75, comma, 1.25 miles. The drop down is meters or miles. So remember, if you're going to use meters, it's 1,000. Okay, a kilometer being 1,000. So I've got it in miles. I'm going to hit create. Boom shakalaka. There's my lost person behavior rings. Okay. Now it put them down here in the lines and polygons folder. Well, that's not where I want it. I want it up here in the lost person behavior folder. And I don't like black rings like that. I want them to be blue with a particular pattern. So one of the neat things that you can do here in SARTopo with the stuff once you start putting it on the map is you can change all of it at once. So over here under the lines and polygons folder, I am going to click bulk ops. All right, and it gives me this pop-up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I'm just holding down the shift button and clicking on all three things here. I'm going to select all of my rings, and I'm going to change the attributes. Now, I want them to be in the lost person behavior data folder. All right. I want them to be blue. I'm going to click style right here. And these are the different lines I could have. I like this particular one right here. Now, these are, a lot of these icons are from the Wildland Fire world, because we have actually a gigantic book just about this. So these icons, as long as you're using them consistently, you can use them for whatever the hell you want. This particular one in fire is used for an uncontrolled fire edge and is usually red. But I like it because it has little lines pointing in. I'm going to give it a line weight of 2. I'm going to hit update. Now, all of my rings just changed. They moved up to the lost person behavior data folder, and they're all consistent. Now, what I like to do personally, this is me, I use the lost person behavior rings. They're one of the first things I map after the place last seen. And we use this to explain to law enforcement what we're doing and why. What I like to do is go in here. If you hit the little pencil, it's the edit. So I'm going to go up to the 0.2. I'm going to hit edit. And for label, it says 0.2 mile because it took that from the attributes. But I'm going to put 25%. Okay, I changed it, and now it just changed it right there too. So that helps explain what some of these rings are. Okay, now say I don't want I want the graphic, but I don't want the text. I can go over here to lost person behavior folder where it says labels shown. I'm going to click it. Labels are hidden. Boom. Maybe I'm only worried. I'm not worried about the 75% range ring. Maybe because of what's going on here, I'm only worried about the 25 and the 50. Well, I can turn off the big one and only leave the 2 little ones. Okay. And you see, as you zoom in and out, it all changes with you. Okay. We're coming up on 2 hours here. I'm going to show you guys a handful more things, and then we'll call it a night. And I'll end up emailing you some stuff to start thinking about for next week. Okay, so we've got our place last seen. We've got our range rings. We got to start putting out some areas to go search, right? Now, I started to do this earlier, but that's when I realized I was in the wrong account. I'm going to take my map. And even though right now it's using basically a Google map, I'm going to go to down here to preset combinations, and I'm going to go to the map builder topo. All right. And boom, I've already got more data. The map builder topo includes most public trails out there. In this case, any of these red dotted lines, these are actually, in fact, trails in the national park. This one right here is a little goofy because actually it's a picnic area. And as you scroll in, you can see it kind of clarifies itself. Well, what's the great thing about trails? Trails are linear search areas or boundaries for search areas, right? So I need to put some search areas down. Well, based on this missing person, okay, let's say it's a 14-year-old male with autism. If you know anything about kids with autism, you know, they got to follow the plan. If the plan goes out of whack, it's a bad day for them, right? So their plan was to go from the parking lot, walk to the lake, and then walk out along this trail, okay? Kid went missing. Parents have no clue where he is. But during the interview process, because we know we're interviewing for a missing child with autism, we say, what was your plan for the day? Well, after we grilled our hot dogs here in the parking lot, which they're not allowed to do, by the way, they were going to go out and walk that trail. Okay, so that trail just became our first hasty area to search. So I need to identify that on my map as a search area. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see it clearly on the map. I'm going to go over here to add. I'm going to click on add. And I'm going to scroll down. Now, what you didn't see earlier when I was in the wrong account was all these SAR objects. Well, we saw earlier, we saw markers and lines and polygons and range rings. But this is the difference between SARTopo for responders and CalTopo for people just going on a hike. I'm going to make a linear assignment. Okay. So I'm going to click line assignment. And a couple things happen right away. First, down here on the bottom right, I get a pop-up with all the attributes. Okay. So this is all the data that's going to go behind the line. And then also up here, you see the snap to. Okay. Kind of like earlier when I was doing some measuring and we had the snap to. Well, what this is going to let us do is as we make this linear search assignment, it's going to actually stick to the trail. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to click OSM, which I know is OpenStreetMap. And you see, boom, all the trails, all the streets and everything just got highlighted, which means I can trace along them. So I'm going to, this is going to be in the Bravo search area. It's going to be Bravo 1. It's going to go into my assignments folder. I don't have operational periods yet. It's going to be a ground 1 resource, team size of 2, priority is high. You can use all these attributes however you want. And here in a little bit, I'm going to show you what happens to them. Okay. Response to POD is going to be high for this team because it's a nice day. They can see. Unresponsive is going to be medium because you can actually see quite a ways here. That clue POD is going to be low because there's a lot of people out there. We're going to say trail. This was part of the planned hike for the family. GPS type, I'm going to make it a route for when it gets moved onto it, a handheld GPS. And static, prepared by, especially if you've got people doing your planning. You got some people doing planning, got some people managing the op. That's important to who put this on the map. Okay. Primary freak is going to be ops 1, secondary is county fire, and the status is going to be in progress. This is the first thing we're going to do. Okay. So I've got the attributes, but now I've actually got to draw the line. So So what I'm going to do, go to my PLS, and I'm going to start clicking along the yellow. Okay. And you can see it highlights it. So you can really zip right along here. Down to this intersection, over to here, back to here, and then back up the road to here. Okay, and now it's a solid red line and it's showing up under the assignments folder. Now, you're going to send people out to search, recognizing, in my little scenario here, this is the hasty phase. I'm probably not printing them no map. We're saying, hey, go out and run that trail real quick and come back, right? But say I did want to print them a map of this, and I want to make sure that they've got it in their hand when they go out. Well, a couple things I can do. I can go over here and I'm going to click B1, and I get a pop-up. I know that linear search area I just made is 1.1 miles. I can see what the profile is as I zip, and this is kind of cool. So as I move the cursor from left to right across the bottom, you'll see the red dot actually move across. So it can tell me what the terrain is like. So there's one spot right here. This is the high spot of the whole route. And then it goes back down and flattens out. Kind of cool. Okay, out of that. We'll back down here, click on it again. I want to print a 104. 104, that's an ICS form, right? It just took all those attributes I typed in, and it dumped them onto this 104. This is cool. This is a time saver. Okay. So incident name is on here. What was that? Assignment number. I use letters and numbers. So 1 Bravo. The resource type, it's ground team 1. If I really need to, I can hand jam who's out there. But where's the assignment? What is the assignment? Trail. This is part of the planned hike. All that other stuff. Here's the length. If it was an area, it would tell me acres. Here's my PODs. Here's my communication stuff that I filled out, prepared by. So all of those attributes, SARTopo will put into ICS forms. Now, that doesn't do all of the forms. It does some essential ones, with this being one of them. Can you direct type also? Yes, this is a fillable form. So I can type, oh, not right there. I got to download it. So I'm downloading 104. Let me put it in a spot where I don't lose it. Save. And then it's going to open in my, now I happen to have Adobe Pro on my computer. But when you download it, it is a fillable form. So even with the regular Adobe Reader that you're able to fill in forms, you should be able to fill this out and do stuff with it. So right there, it's a time saver. Okay. I don't have to re-enter all that stuff, because as I make this search area on the fly, it's capturing all that data. Now, I kind of got to have a map of it though, right? Now, this is one that has recently changed. So I want to take a look here. Yep. I'm not sure what's going on. It used to be I would click on the segment and I would be able to print the map right from here. And it's right on the, oh, here it is. It's under depreciated SAR options. That's right. The last update they did to this, they made some changes for the next update as well. So if I want to print a map to go along with that 104, it's under depreciated, which means they're going to take this away at some point. It's going to have a different way to do it. But I want to print maps. So I'm going to click on that. Just like everything else, new tab opens, and it's going to open a PDF map at a certain scale of that search segment that I just made. So there it is. It's labeled Bravo 1, and there it is. And it's already, it's at a 1 to 12,000 scale. And you can print this back to back in that 204, give it to that team leader and say, go get it done. Here's your briefing. See, come back to debrief when you're done. See you in 20 minutes or however long it's going to take them to do. So it will automatically do these maps without you having to tell it to make map. Other neat things you can do. Oh, looks like we got a latecomer. Stand by. All right. Looks like Ted just popped in the room. Good evening, sir. We are recording everything, so this will go up on YouTube so you can catch what you missed. We probably only got about another 15 minutes to go. So that was a linear assignment. All right. Say I want to make, I got a polygon I want to make for a search area. So I'm going to go to add. Here's line, here's polygon, but I want the search objects, because when I choose those, it's going to give me more of those search SAR specific options. So I'm going to go area assignment, click that. Here I've got all this search area stuff again. So this is going to be number 2. I'm putting it in my Bravo area. I want it in the assignments folder, resource type, ground team 2. Team size, this one's a 4-man team. Set some PODs. I'm just making this up. Possible sighting in this area, previous efforts. Lifeguards on an ATV ran through this area that I'm going to select. I'll put in my freak, maps 1. County fire, prepared by M. Bell. And I'm going to make this one prepared. It's all set, but nobody's out there yet. And I'm going to show you the difference on that here in a little bit. So I'm going to hit, oh, I gotta draw the polygon, right? So you see, I got my little cursor, my little plus. I'm on the snap to OSM again. You see stuff is highlighted in yellow. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some of these lines, some of these highlighted areas to help draw my my search grid. So I'm going to go from this intersection over to here, which is a good landmark, out to the water. I can still draw, just click dots, but then move back to the highlighted trails and such. There is actually a little bit of trail missing right here. I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna go here, down here to this, up this road. This is a pretty big area, and it's actually some crappy terrain. I've been through it more than once. When I get back to my start area and double click, and just close that off. Just made my polygon. Okay, I got a little dangle in the polygon down there. I don't want that. That was a goof up. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hit edit. And you see all the little white dots? Those are all vertices. I can delete the vertice. Vertice is just a point on your polygon, a turning point or whatever. What makes the shape of it. So I'm going to delete those so it makes this look a little neater, cleaner. There we go. I'm going to zoom back out. That looks right. That's what I want to be searched. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to right click. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to left click. I can print my SAR 104. Let's do this. Let's look at the terrain statistics for this polygon. 46 acre area, not too big. I got 4 people going through it. Terrain stats. Well, most of the elevation in that search area is about 643 feet. There's some decent slope in there, not too bad. Mostly a north-facing aspect. 50%, 57% tree cover. Why is that important, Cliff? Why might I want to know tree cover? Flying aircraft in your drone,
We'll be
right?
looking at it with a flare.
Yeah, okay. 50% of this area is barren, 32% is developed, 14% forested, 4% water. So I can start taking statistics in this area to help me figure out, okay, I've got almost a third of it's developed. So that means there's probably structures there. Well, let's go back over here to map layers. There is actually right underneath parcel data, a button for structures. I'm going to click on that. See all those orange squares? Those are all structures. Now I can print my map of this search area. So left click. Again, for some reason, print map is still under depreciated. I'm going to print map. I'm going to pop open a tab here with a PDF. There's my search area. There's the structures that are in it. All right. It doesn't show anything else but this search area, because that's all this map is for. Okay. And again, I can print this double-sided with my 204, give that 4-man team their briefing, off they go. Just like that. Now, I said this one was planned, or what was that attribute? Let me click. I'll go down here to the bottom left, and I'll click the pencil mark for edit. I said that one was status prepared, right? And I said, what was the status for the red for the route? That one was going to be in progress. Well, before we all got out here, our lovely lifeguards, I'm going to switch over to, earlier I mentioned that you can make your own, add your own data. One of the layers of data I've added, if you didn't know, the state of Indiana pays to have the state flown in sections every couple of years, and they take ortho photos. You can actually incorporate that data into SARTopo. So this is actually a picture of this area taken from an aircraft in 2018, and it zooms right in. You can just about see the ruts from where the lifeguards drive their UTV around here. So I'm going to come out here. I'm going to add an area assignment showing what the lifeguards already searched before we got here. So they kind of did a little thin strip just along the beach. All right. They pretty much just ran the beach. All right. But I got to go into the attributes for that. I'm going to edit it. That's going to be number 0 because it was done before we got here. That's in the alpha area. I want it to show up in my assignments folder. Lifeguards on ATV. Status is complete. Okay. And details previously searched. All right. And then I'm going to click. So it's completed. I'm going to click OK. Now, one of the things about SARTopo, and I'm going to switch back to a little bit cleaner map. I'm going to go back to the Google layers, Google map. One of the things that I can do is I can make it so that I can see things color coded. Go to settings. And I want to show, oh, nuts, they moved it. Oh, crap. Oh, darn, I accidentally closed my map. Oh, gee, golly, gee whiz. What was one of the things we said was a bonus about having the map be online? I can just go open it again because it updates and saves every step. So your data, come over here. I'm going to sort by date. No, that's not it. Oh, that's right. Hey, I put it under the team account, didn't I? Darn. Team account, PC SAR starter map. There it is. Oh, good. I accidentally closed it, but all my stuff is still saved. Awesome thing, especially for guys like me that fat finger stuff. What I want to do is now come over here. Oh, here it is. So I'm going to the assignments folder. So as I made these search assignments, they all got placed in that assignments folder because that was one of the attributes I selected. I'm going to go down here to display settings. Now this is going to be the display settings just for the assignments folder. I'm going to click on that. It's going to be show all assignments. I want to color code it by status. I'm going to click OK. Now look, the purple one, the one the lifeguard's done, previously searched, the one that's planned, and actually one of these is, oh, I must have made them the same. Real quick, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to change it from in progress to draft. Now it's blue. So I can see the draft is blue, the prepared and ready to go or in progress are red, and previously searched is purple. So when you get to a map, I'm going to go to one of my actual search maps. When you get to a map that has a whole heck of a lot of search grids on it, and you need to take a look and see what's in progress, what's done, and what's planned, color coding is your friend. All right. Now, unfortunately, on this particular map, which is from an actual search, this is when we were still new to using this tool. And you can see I have red, green, and yellow, which kind of makes sense for color coding. Done, in progress, and planned. Unfortunately, it doesn't let you use those colors. I've asked for that to be a fix from SARTopo. They haven't quite got there yet. So you are stuck, unfortunately, with these particular colors, but still, the fact that you can color code your stuff to see the status is awesome. One of the other things, and Jan's mentioned this, that you can see on here is if you have anybody live tracking. Now, I am going to pull up SARTopo on my device right now, sitting at my desk. And I am going to go to this map. And I am going to turn on and share my location with the map. And I'm going to turn on record track onto this map. And on the left-hand side, here in a minute or three, I'm going to get a new folder. All right. Now, sometimes this takes a couple minutes because I am now running data from my phone to the big server through my Verizon connection back to this computer map. But I should conceivably, might have to hit a refresh. There I am. Now you see on the left-hand side under the map objects, I have an app tracks. And this red dot, that's my house. Okay. So if we wanted, you could track me as I drive from home up to my search area and go do this search. This is one of the coolest features about having the app on a device and having this be a live running on the computer, on the internet, in the cloud application. When you turn on tracking, you can identify yourself however you want. You can change the colors of your tracks. It really helps it so that stuff doesn't get too confusing, because it is very easy for you to quickly get a lot of data on your map and have it be too hard to actually see what's going on. So color coding, being able to turn on and off markers, search areas, just show simple base data by clicking things on and off over here. Super important, super awesome way to use this tool. So,
And if I may, Micah,
yes, go ahead.
today our team, we were working a cold case. So you're talking about live tracking. It was really cool to be able to watch all the dog teams in their
Yep.
different segments working, and it was all color coded. So it was really cool to see. And then our little small IC had everything
Yep.
up on the screen. It was awesome.
So somewhere I have a map, or I have a picture. Been 18 months ago now, we had a search that could have gone better. And it was a 7-day search. After the first probably about 4 hours, we moved the command post from our trailer over to our county EOC, which is about 1.5 miles away. County EOC had just installed new flat screen TVs, 4 of them all hooked together to make a super screen. So there is actually a picture of us standing in front of this giant wall-sized super screen, watching the same thing, doing the same thing, watching canines track through the woods. Because everybody that was out on that second day had SARTopo running on their device, and same thing, we're live tracking them as they're out doing their thing. And as a incident commander, as a search manager, there is nothing better than knowing where your people are at. Especially if you're maybe in an area where radio service isn't so hot. Maybe they can't hit the 800 megahertz tower, which is what we use almost exclusively. But man, as long as they got some cell service, you can see them. Oh, they're still moving. Or hey, that red dot hasn't moved in a while. Somebody call them and see what's going on. Just the ability to see your folks move across that search area is, it's just phenomenal. Probably one of the biggest tools that we use on here, because it shows what's going on. And there are, and again, it's into a little deep into the weeds. There are some ways that you can quickly bring somebody into your map if they're not part of your organization already. There's some of the sharing tools that the SARTopo folks have got. But that's getting deep, and some of that is actually captured into the self-paced training that they have. The purpose for tonight was I wanted to, and I think we've done this. If we missed something, please say something. Orient you guys to the concept of SARTopo, show you how to get in, show you where the main stuff is on the screen, how to add objects, how to search, how to print, how to play with the different base layers, how to turn on some of the overlays. We did that, whether it be public lands, so this should all turn purple, parcel data, so the purple lines of whose property is whose, structures, all the dots, that how many are out there, trails, whatever it is, how to get to that data and add it to your map, and then start playing with and printing your map. Now, the last couple that I've gone to print have been very specific to the assignment, but if I wanted to print the whole kit and caboodle, I can do that by going to the main print button, hit print map coordinates. And right now it's already set for an 8.5 by 11 geospatial. I'll pull it over here, but just to fit
Micah?
everything. Yes.
I don't think you're screen sharing anymore if you were trying to screen share that.
Yeah, good
Thank
catch.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me go back to that. So there we are. So I've got my map, but an 8.5 by 11 at This 1 to 6,000 isn't quite going to cut it. So move it out to 1 to 24. There we go. Center it. Now I can get pretty much everything I want on that map. I'm going to title it practice session 1. If I had tracks and other things on here, I could turn them on, generate PDF. Once the tab opens in 3 to 5 minutes, I can have one map that will show everything. It'll show all my stuff, and I can give it to the detective or the whoever and say, here you go. This is what we did today. And they can stick that in their case file. Good to go. Wow, this one's really taking a while to load. I have to close a few tabs here. It's odd. I wonder why it's taking so long. Oh, here it comes. So there we go. One map with everything. It's got our PLS labeled. It's got our lost person behavior range rings. It's got the 3 search areas. In this case, they're not color coordinated because I had that turned off, but they're labeled Bravo 1, Bravo 2, Alpha 0. It's got the scale, the title. I can print this off. I can email it, send it to the cops and say, there you go. And we have documentation of what we did. On next week, I will, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop with the screen share and I'll talk a little bit about what I'd like to do next week. When we look at this, you know, this is GIS, Geographic Information Systems, but it is not a full-blown GIS program. It's not ArcMap, it's not all that stuff, but it does a lot and you can do it. I've done it off a tablet before. In fact, it was this tablet. The 7-day search that didn't go so well. When I got dispatched to it, I was actually in a camp out with my scouts. I didn't have my tough book. I didn't have my printer. I didn't have anything. I had a tablet and I started this on a 7-inch Samsung tablet. This is great for those beginning phases. You know, you've got a small management team, but say this turns into something huge. And the state brings us a real GIS person. You know, we can actually give them all this data. We can export this stuff so that we can look at it with a different set of eyes in Google Earth. Zoom in, zoom out. That's some of the stuff we're going to talk about next week. As well as I'm going to come up with a small scenario with, and I'll give you an address for a place last seen. I'll give you the lost person behavior profile data and just a little bit of stuff so you can make a basic map. Because that's all we're shooting for. We're not making the map that's hanging on the wall that's, you know, in the war college or nothing here. We're making a map that people can get out and use to conduct a search or to use to document what we did. So that will be what we do next week. So I'm going to send everybody an email, some information, and I'm going to say, hey, make your map. And then we're going to share. And here's how we're going to do it. So what you'll do is, remember how we go into the info tab and we can make a copy, or we can set our sharing privileges. So I'm going to copy right now. I'm going to copy the link address for this map that we've been doing. And I'm going to come over here. And this is the same thing you guys are going to do next week, is you'll take your map, you'll share the link, and we can all look at it. And then we can, I mean, we're not grading anything, believe me. My maps, sometimes I can read them and nobody else can. So we're not, you know, not doing the Mona Lisa here, but we'll just see how different people came up with kind of the same, similar map using the same data. And we'll play with it. And that's the whole idea, is get you comfortable with some of the stuff and just see what all is here. I highly recommend for those folks coming to the MLPI class, go through that online training, go through those steps that the SARTopo folks put together. because it is the same concept, but more in depth. We have just skimmed the surface. All right. They'll get into the weeds and do some step-by-step stuff on how to do the same thing. All right. The intent here is just make you a little bit comfortable with this tool, because it is a phenomenal tool, and it's a tool that we're going to use when we do the MLPI class. All right. Where we're going to be at the Mac Center in Valparaiso has great internet, really decent speed, and we can bring some more Wi-Fi pucks if we need to. Plenty of room to space out. I am going to provide some large paper maps for the scenario. The base map, which I'm actually going to give you guys the base map ahead of time so you can take a look at it a little bit. But that's kind of where we're at. So tonight, the objective was to show you how to get in, introduce you to some of the different stuff on the screen, show you what it does, how to print, and hopefully just pique your mind a little bit so you want to go play with it more, because that's how you learn a system like this, is by playing with it. Because you ain't gonna screw nothing up. You're not gonna accidentally print something on somebody's giant plotter 3 buildings away. Been there, done that. All right. It's just ones and zeros in the cloud. All right. Now, for my guys, here's my selling point on this. Okay. My team is all made up of firemen. Okay. I got some rednecks on the team, and I'm one of them. And what do we like to do? Go play in the woods. So I tell my guys, you're going to go hunting, log into your SARTopo account, map out where you're going hunting, learn to use it. Okay. I've used this to make maps of where I've gone 4-wheeling and to plan trips to go 4-wheeling. It's just, the more you play with it, the more you get used to it, and the more cool stuff you see it does. So I've been jabbering for long enough now. I wanted to stop 15 minutes ago. Sorry. Do you guys have any questions right now? There's going to be one within probably, I'm going to say the next 25 minutes. Someone's going to be like, oh, I wrote this down. Hit me up with an email. Okay.
No, but thank you. Thank you very much for having this.
Well, I'm not going to take credit for any of this. This is something that I stole from Brian Engberg from Nassar. He kind of stole it too. It's a great tool. That's why we're using this particular tool for the class, because it's awesome. Just the fact that you can get a free pro account to use and do all this stuff, it just blows my mind. What they charge people that go hiking and stuff like that to do what we can do for free is phenomenal. And it's a great tool too, especially in the fact that we're going to have 2 days of MLPI, then you got 2 weeks, and you come back. During those 2 weeks, you guys can do some collaboration, some offline work in your groups if you want, and still manage your map. So, it's good for that. So if you got any questions, hit me up. Shoot me an email, text, call, Facebook Messenger. I don't care, whatever. I'm teleworking, so I'll answer it. Then I'll send you an email, probably maybe later tonight, probably tomorrow night, because I actually have to go into the office tomorrow, with just a little bit of data so that you can start making a map, and we'll chug in through those next week, do some sharing, do some exporting, do some importing.
I have an easy question, Micah.
Yeah.
You're going to send us this link to this YouTube recording. Is it okay if we share this with other SART people?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay.
It'll be under my team's account, and we'll set it so that it can be shared with whoever, wherever, and whenever. Now, I am going to tell you, if you want the training for SARTopo, it actually comes out of the AMRG, was it Appalachian Mountain Rescue Group? Nuts. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, please do.
We stole some of their stuff,
up.
and then we've melded it. But they've actually got some SOPs put together on how to do this. We've stolen some of their stuff and incorporated it. Patty Lindsay, that's it. Patty Lindsay out of Pittsburgh. She teaches classes on this Some of my folks went to the Mountain Rescue Association conference last June because it was in Pennsylvania, and she did like a day-long class on SARTopo. That was just, it blew some minds with all the different stuff you can do and how you can set your stuff up for success. So I'll send you a link to some of her stuff as well, so you guys can take a look at the, like I said,
Sweet. Thank
a
you.
great place to get started and get a team, up and running and do some really good professional mapping. So, all right, guys,
Thank you.
thank you very much. I will see you
Thank
all
you.
next week here digital,
Okay.
and see you in person in a few weeks.
Good
Awesome.
job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good
Good
night.
night. Bye.